All right, today we are covering quadratics. It's a big part of what we learned this year, and it's a big part of what you're going to use next year. This stuff is like really, really important. So pay attention. These two spots I've identified on this quadratic are really important spots. There's 4 different names for those. Can you give me some names for them? The zeros, the roots, the solutions, and one last x-intercepts. Very good. All right, if they give you those, you can write the equation really easy. Would you try, without my help, to write the equation? In a second, I'll show you how it works. Y equals what? If you've been having trouble starting, make 2 sets of parentheses. Bet you already did that. And then you should be saying to yourself, okay, this -3, that's a 0. So I need to set it up so that -3 would make my equation equal 0. So you go x minus plus 3. That way if I dropped in a -3, it's 0. And this one would be x minus 9. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now, I don't know, did anybody think about the fact that it could have been stretched? And if it could have been stretched, there could have been a number here. But I didn't say anything about a stretch, so you're right to assume it probably wasn't stretched. Right? But we deal with that a lot more in pre-calc than we do right here. All right, so there's an equation. How about this? Wouldn't it have been the same equation if it had been upside down? You'd still go through -3 and 9, wouldn't it? But then you would have had a negative in the front because it's going down on the right. And you would have had to just throw a negative in front of that to get the right answer. Okay, so some things you probably weren't thinking of when we did it the first time. How about this? How do you get general form? Generally, you just multiply it out. Go ahead and multiply it out. This is fact. Multiply this one out. That way you'll know what general form is. FOIL, first, outside, inside, last. First is x squared. Outside would be -9x. The inside would be +3x. Usually we wait, put them together, and then write it down. -6. And the last, 9 times 3 makes 27. It's negative. Here we go. Now, other stuff we can do with this. The quadratic formula is now possible. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you have a 1 for the a, a -6 for the b, and the c is -27. Why would I do the quadratic formula? To find the roots, but I already know the roots. So it'd be kind of useless to do it right now because the answers would come out to -3 and 9. Okay. Another thing you should know about this is if you want the vertex for it, then you want to do the complete square deal. Or, I'm going to show you that in a minute, or you could, remember doing this dotted line down here, finds it in the middle? Remember that thing? Yeah, that's on this worksheet today, and it's on the final too. How would you find the vertex from a picture like this? You'd say, okay, I know it's somewhere around in there. How do I know where the dotted line is? It's in between the 9 and the -3. How do I find out what's between 9 and -3? You would average the two. You'd say 9 and -3 average to, let's see, 6, add them together, divide by 2 is 3. This must be 3. You know what I'm saying? All right. So that was, again, 9 and -3 put together, add up to 6. Half of that is 3. So that tells me the middle. So if this is at 3, then I know my vertex is at 3 comma something. Focus, please. Up here. All right. So this 3 right here needs to go into my equation to get the answer. So I'm going to take this 3, drop it in here, and I'll know what my answer is. 3 plus 3 is 6. 9 or 6. 3 minus 9 is -6. 6 times -6 makes -36. That's the hardest part of it all. So you get where I got the -36. I just took this number, the 3, which I found by finding the average of these two numbers. And I take that 3 and I stick it in here and here. And I see what answer I get. All right, I want you to try one of those, please. Right now, let's say it's at 1 and 10. I'd like you to figure out what the vertex is. The picture's kind of ugly there, but assume it's going, here, here. I'm going to go, I'll draw it again. Yes, this is negative. This is 10. There. Tell me what the equation is and the vertex. You won't be able to do just the vertex. You'll have to find the equation, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to find the second part of the vertex. The first part of the vertex is easy. But you'll need the equation eventually. All right, I'm going to pause for a minute while you figure that one out. Okay, here we go. Here's what you should have done. You should have found the average of these two, which this one's a tougher one because it's going to come out to an average of, let's see, 10 minus the one with 9. Half of 9 would be 4.5. Raise your hand if you knew that. Okay, good. Then the equation, what? Nope. Because if you do that, if you do the half of 11, that'd be 5.5. Then think about this now. What's the difference between here and here? 4.5. The difference between here and here? That would be 6.5. You don't want that. You understand? Alright, so you want to take 10 and then minus 1 makes 9. Half of 9, 4.5. So 4.5 is my number. Now, if I use... what's happening? Back? There it is. Now I'm going to figure out what to get for this number. I take the 4.5, I put it in the equation that doesn't exist here. So I might make my equation. Y equals parentheses x, and then the minus 1 means plus 1. And the positive 10 means minus 10. And there you go. Now I take my 4.5, put it in there, and that'll be 5.5 times, it always ends up being this way. I don't know if you've noticed that. Both numbers will be the same. Then you do 5.5 times 5.5. And I'm just going to cheat, right? 5.5 squared. But if you wanted to actually multiply it out, once I square it, it won't be. Okay, but oh, you got a point there. Okay, and let me just see. Yeah, it's down 5.5, so it's got to be negative. You're right. I'm just wrong. What is 5.5 squared? Did somebody figure it out? Thank you. Here we go. That was going to be tougher than you'd mostly find because of this decimal. Usually these are whole numbers, and it's not so nasty. All right, and yeah, that too should. Tried to erase it when I erased the first thing. All right, so now that's a typical one, but how do you do it when you don't have a picture? How do you do it when they just give you this? Let's make it nice. Let's make it 8x plus 1. Do you remember completing the square? If you don't remember it, we need to get you fresh because it's on the final, and it's a big thing in next year's pre-calc classes. If you're thinking about taking pre-calc next year, which you should be because that's the next logical class, there is one other option. We should just talk about placement for just a moment. I'm going to stop the recording and talk about what class to take next year. I'm going to pause for a minute here. All right, so we're done with our conversation about, already got it done, thank you, about finding the vertex. To find the vertex, you need to just complete the square deal. I'm going to run through this one really fast. X squared plus 8x plus a line minus a line plus 1. Notice I just added these two guys in. Because if I want to add 5 and then subtract 5, it's okay, I can do that. What do I want to add? The little German boy comes in and helps out. HAHonors. And he tells you to take half of the 8 and then square it. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. 16. Now, it's a perfect square. Now, this part right here would be x plus 4 and x plus 4. And this part right here would be minus 15. And then I can just put these guys together and say y equals x plus 4 quantity squared minus 15. And doesn't that look like vertex now? Because here's the vertex. Can you get that? All right. Why don't you try one? See if that was enough to remind you how it works. x squared plus 12x minus 8. Try that one right now on your iPad. Or a piece of paper if you don't have your iPad. So you should start x squared plus 12x plus a line minus a line. That's 8. Then what do you do now? Half and square. Half of 6, 12 is 6, 6 squared 36 and 36. Then y equals x plus 6 quantity squared. That goes together, negative 44. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now, what happens when they get harder? You quit and give up. How about this? Instead, you factor out something. You see what can factor out of this. 10. Because if you get that 10 out of here, yes, you also factor a 1 out, but you can factor a 1 out of everything. 10 comes out, and then all of a sudden I have x squared plus 2x, and I'm not factoring it out of the 1. Is that okay? Yes. You don't have to factor it out of everything. No, you really shouldn't. It'll make it way harder. Just take the 1, put it at the end. Because see how this one's like only affecting what's inside here? I don't even know how you do it if you did factor it out of the last one. Like, let's say this had been a 20 at the end. In theory, you could factor the 10 out, but then I don't think it would work nice for this whole process I'm showing you. So only do it out of the first 2 numbers. And now I'm going to say plus a line minus a line. Half and square, half of 2 is 1, 1 squared is 1. 1. And now this is the part that is really easy to forget. That 10 there needs to go multiply there too. Because 10 times this 1 makes that line 10 times bigger. So this line needs to make up for that by also getting multiplied by 10. So then the final answer is y equals, now there's a stretch factor in front of 10, the stretch factor. It means the parabola gets stretched upwards. 10 times this 12. And now I'd say x plus 1 quantity squared for this part. And then the last is negative 10, because it's 10 times negative 1. Negative 10 plus 1 makes it. Raise your hand if you followed. All right, then try this one yourself. Y equals, the reason we're spending so much time on this is I know you're going to use it next year, and therefore it's worth it. Make sure you're good at it. Besides, it's on the final. But complete the square on this one. I'll walk around and see how you do. All right, well, kids are filing out. I got kind of surprised by that. I'm going to show how to finish this for the people on the video. You factor out the 25. What you have left is x squared plus 2x, and then I say plus a line, minus 1. Next thing I'm going to do is half and square. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. 1. And then this 25 that got factored out here has to also go to the end right there. And then I have y equals 25, parentheses, x plus 1, quantity squared, minus, and the negative 25 and the negative 1 makes minus 26. So it's in vertex form now, and the vertex would be negative 1, negative 26. All right, hope that helps.